Welcome to Tracks, where we break down the best and worst albums one track at a time. I'm Brian.
I'm Jay.
And today we're talking about R.E.M's Automatic for the People. And before we get started, Jay, why are we looking at R.E.M's Automatic for the People?
Because for years, Brian, you and I have had a running conversation about how I think you need to listen to some R.E.M. And your general response is, no way, never.
My general response is more like, yeah, no, F that.
Yeah, you are not a fan of the R.E.M. And I am not some super R.E.M. fan, okay? That's actually my friend Gruber. But I do like R.E.M. I grew up listening to R.E.M. They were... being a guy from the South, and then when alternative music hit and everything, all that seemed to be happening somewhere else, like in Seattle and all that stuff. But R.E.M. was from Athens, Georgia, which is next door to where I grew up in Alabama. They were like Southern rock's cool band before, anything else. And so I've always had this fascination with them. Even when I didn't necessarily like some of their output, I've always listened to their stuff through the years. And Automatic for the People was a big record because it came out after the Out of Time record, which was the big Mandolin, Losing My Religion, all that stuff record. And this one was supposed to be more back into what they were normally doing, though, as we'll get into talking about, it was still a lot of very Out of Time feel. But we've talked about R.E.M. offline for years, and I finally convinced you to, hey, let's do one of these. And then you had the brilliant idea to let's make this a video chat as well.
Yeah, well, I think we both wanted to kind of explore the video realm for other podcasts that we do, and this one in general. And since I do a lot more video stuff these days than I do podcasts, the last podcast I did was, again, on the tracks that we did together. So it's been a long time since I've laid down any kind of podcast. I figured, why not do a video version that we can put on YouTube and use my YouTube channel to kind of push that as well. So it's a chance. We'll see how it goes. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but worth a shot, I thought.
Absolutely. And people finally get to see our smiling faces after all these years. So if we hook in any of the old Art of Slaying fans, here you go.
There you go, right?
Yeah, we're not those cartoons we've had for 12 years now or whatever.
Before we get into this too, let me tell you why my guttural reaction to R.E.M. is right. Okay. So it has nothing to do with R.E.M. in general, as far as like they suck, they can't write good music, blah blah blah. It has to do with me being a heavy metal, glam rock, Poison, Damn Yankees, Firehouse fan, and that's my jam growing up. And my station was 93X in Minnesota, which, by the way, is back now as 93X. But one day I'm at home, I turn on 93X, only to hear "It's the End of the World as We Know It," and I'm thinking, what the hell is this? Right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm waiting for it to finish. It finally finishes, and then what happens? It starts over again, and it plays for 72 hours straight. That one song. Nothing else. Nothing to tell me why I'm hearing the same damn song over and over and over again. So I listened to on and off for 72 hours straight that freaking song, and it engraved in my head that I absolutely detest R.E.M. because of that one song. Okay, so every time I heard Michael Stipe's voice on my radio, it was instant click it off and turn something else on. So I never gave them any credence or time of day because they pissed me off by playing that stupid song for 72 hours straight on my favorite radio station, which was the signal that they were switching from a heavy metal format to an alternative rock format. This is right at the height of grunge. Their grunge is taking over. Alternative rock is rolling, and that was the signal that the station was changing formats. Would have been nice if they told me that I didn't have to keep checking in and hearing that awful song. So even to this day, when that song comes on, I cringe. So, I've never given them the light of day. And you had come up and said, we wanted this to be stuff that, maybe we like a lot or don't like. I mean, we did Van Halen 3. Neither of us like that piece of crap, right?
No.
But we did it. And so you mentioned, one of these days I should get you to do a tracks on R.E.M. And I said, well, let's just do it. Pick one of the albums, as long as it doesn't have The End of the World as We Know It on it. That was my one stipulation. Pick one of the albums. I will listen to it, and I'll give my honest critique of it, and we'll go from there, right? So that's why we're here.
Well, two things. One, you should be mad at the program director for doing that too. You're not R.E.M.
I
And
know.
two, and two, my old band, the Holly Carbines, before we got into doing our own stuff, did a lot of cover songs. And we had a singer one time, his name's Michael, is a good friend of mine. And Michael knew all of the words to that song, which amazed the rest of us in the band because all we
There's a
knew was
lot.
Leonard Bernstein and the chorus, right? And so he could remember all that. So we used to play that live, and it blew people's minds that he could sit up there and just rattle that stuff off. So I have played that song live, and I want to tell you that bass line is a thumper. That is a hard thing to play. Mike Mills ain't playing around when he plays the bass, and it's a lot. I mean, once you get it down, the repetitiveness of it sort of works, but getting the beat right and everything, it's tough. So I always appreciated that for not only just the lyrical content of that song, which is just spoken word at 100 miles an hour, but it's the band and what they were doing behind it. And I think that's the thing I always dug about R.E.M. because End of the World is like a song, but like Stand is another sort of song. But yeah, other cool songs off the like the Document record and the Green record that they'd done before. And I thought these guys musically are mixing a lot of things that I like about the 60s and 70s, like the Byrds. Like you can tell Peter Buck's a big like Birds fan and all that kind of stuff, the way he plays and all that. And I liked him, and then Bill Berry and Mike Mills as the rhythm section. They just seem to do interesting things musically. And again, as a guy who was very late to the alternative world, I didn't jump on the Nirvana and Soundgarden train. I did like Pearl Jam, but I thought of them as more like a blues band with a weird singer than anything else. And that I don't think that's unfair to say either, because of the way those guys play. But I didn't get into that because I was still listening to Poison and Motley Crue and all that stuff like you too. But R.E.M. was a gateway for me because I enjoyed the jangle of it. Again, growing up with my dad and the 60s and 70s rock feel and Pink Floyd, there's a lot of Floyd. We'll talk about that on this record too. I've always found something in R.E.M. that landed good on my ears. And it's never been Michael Stipe. And I know that kind of blows some people away or whatever. I don't really go for him that much. It's everything else in the band. And then what he does as part of it is fine. And it wouldn't be the same without him. I'll say that. But I always hooked into him because of what I thought the band was doing and less of what his vocals were and stuff. But yeah, if I had to listen to that song for 72 hours straight, and I practiced it for about that for a while, I understand your frustration. Trust me.
Yeah, well, and so I was opening my arms to this. Just why not? So before we get started, Jay, I am going to have to probably need a little liquid encouragement. So let's just pop this open.
There you go.
We'll get that going here. So
yeah.
Before we get started, let's talk about this. Automatic for the People is R.E.M's 8th studio album and the follow-up to Out of Time, which is a big hit for them. It produced 6 singles, reached number 2 on the Billboard Top 100 charts, and has sold over 18 million copies worldwide. Do you know which songs were the singles? Because I know I can name 2 of them for sure that were singles, like probably 3 of them. But do you know what the other 3 were? I was kind of surprised by them.
I believe, if just going from memory here real quick, Drive, Ignore Land, Night Swimming, Sweetness Follows, and Man on the Moon, and Everybody Hurts are the ones I think are the singles.
Okay, the singles off this album are Drive, the Everybody Hurts. You've got The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight.
Yeah.
As a single. You've got Man on the Moon, of course. You've got Night Swimming and Find the River. Those are the 6.
Okay.
So
wow, Find the River. We'll talk. Remind me when we get to that 12th track. We'll talk about that. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Find the River is the one that didn't chart in the United States, but it was a hit overseas apparently. But that's usually the case on the final single of a lot of albums. Is they'll release another single and it'll really go nowhere in the States because they're already coming out with the next album real soon. So most people aren't really paying attention to those singles. So anyway, but we'll get to it. Let's start where we start here. Track number 1, side A, is Drive. Now, for me, I do remember this song from the radio, the yeah part and all that. That rung a bell for me right away when I listened to it. Not a bad song for me. I actually really kind of enjoyed listening to it. So I was kind of shocked right off the bat. I'm already going, crap, did I screw up all these years?
I can say this, like they should also subtitle this album Automatic for the People. Yeah. Because that is a word that you're going to hear in nearly every song. Because I think Michael Stipe, again, in his writer's block, is like, I'm just gonna go with that and see how long they let me do it. And because they were a big band. They'd come up with one of the biggest records ever, and one of the biggest records of all time at that time for the genre. They could do whatever they wanted, and that was his filler for things. And you know what? It works. And I'll tell you what it works is because the music of this song is contemplative despair. And I think that's just a neat way. You guys gotta. It's a great lead track because it sets the whole tone for this record. Because if you thought, okay, R.E.M. did their weird acoustic-y mandolin stuff because Peter Buck hated the guitar for a while on Out of Time. Now they're gonna get back and they're gonna do this rock album, and they come out with this. And I'm like, man, I mean, the thing I've always talked about Automatic for the People, I said, you have to remember, if you only know this album from the Man on the Moon song, which a lot of people do, you're really not getting you're really not getting the essence of this record. This record is a bunch of funeral churches by guys who really know how to put them together. And the way this one was done, and what I find fascinating about it is, you had Mike, Bill, and Peter writing all the music and just doing demos together, and they were swapping each other's instruments and playing this and that and just trying to come up with landscapes that Michael could then write over. And then they would just send him demos and say, go with it. And he would come up with words. They'd finally get something going, and then they'd go back and record it properly. But that was very different from the way they had done records before. And it's a weird way to write a record. I mean, imagine if we were in a band and you just wrote like all this music and sent it to me, and I'm just supposed to lyricize over it. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird way to operate when you've been a band as long as these guys have. But I love this opening track because it sets the entire stage for what is to come. And it's a good song, too. I mean, Drive is a really good song.
Well, and I like how he syncopates his voice with kind of the beat. Slap, clap, you know, just going with that. And then the guitar in the breakdown, maybe, do-do-do-do, and the bass. I think it's a really cool song, and Drive is the perfect title for it because it really just drives you into that album. And so I found myself really enjoying this one when I was listening to it and remembering I have heard this before, and I would never admit that I liked it until now.
Well, I hear a song titled Drive, and I immediately have a thought in my head, and it's two hands on the wheel, hit the gas.
Yeah, right. And that's not this at all. Yeah.
This is very much roll the windows down on a starry night, and we're just going to cruise.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, so we've set the tone with Drive. So yeah, I dig Drive. I think it's a really good tune.
Yeah. Track number 2 on side A is Try Not to Breathe. I don't think I heard this one before until now. I gave it a couple listens, and, you know, I actually kind of dig this one. It has a good tempo, and I just find myself kind of, like, going with it. What do you think of this one?
There's a lot of, like, folky Celtic stuff going on in this. It felt like to me. And these guys were trying to write... I mean, really, it is a funeral music, and I can say that in the after effect because Michael Stipe wrote it about his grandmother passing away, and so it's really deep. But you listen to it, and it's like it sounds like a Celtic funeral song. I mean, it kind of does, and you can see that coming out of these guys. And you know, you read them talking about it, and they go like, "We went into our rehearsal space, the three of us, to go, let's write some rockin' tunes." And what kept coming out were these really interesting sort of melodic chord progressions. And they just would work off of it. And, guys the drummer would have like, go from here to here. And so the other guys would sort of work through that, and they just mess with it. I like this tune. I think it's real, coming off of Drive, it's a little more subtle of a song, but I kind of like it in the 2 spot. The thing you got to know about R.E.M. is they don't lay their albums out in the way that like what my pop rock ears, want to go for. You come out with a slamming track and then a second one and then kind of the third mid tempo and then a 4 killer and then 5 is the ballad. That's the formula I know. Not these dudes. It's not how they work. And they go with another slow song here, and I like it. I think it's not like the most re-listenable thing, but it lands good on the ears.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I just thought it was a good sound. You mentioned the melodic guitars and stuff. Hey, Peter Buck found his guitar again. Hey, look at that. You're happy about that, I know. Yeah. We go to track number 3 on side A, The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight. What an interesting title. I don't know. As this is going, I'm really digging the vibe, and then it hits the chorus, and I'm like, blah.
Yeah, it does land kind of funny when it gets to the hook because it doesn't have one.
No, and the chorus is that breakup that he does quite a bit, and that's what drives me nuts kind of about Michael Stipe is that kind of weird syncopation he does, or the vocal like jumpiness.
Yeah, so, I I like this song because it's a good up tempo track, and it's got that 60s and 70s feel again, the birds and all that, and Roger McGuinn and all that kind of stuff. But the chorus just like it doesn't have one.
Yeah.
It's like we got to hear and didn't have anything else to do. And I almost feel like the music betrays it too, because it's such a good setup, and then it just goes, nowhere. It's to make a completely different reference. If you've ever listened to Bono and the Edge's song for the James Bond movie GoldenEye that Tina Turner sings, I mean, that song has got everything going in the verses. I mean, it's cool and it's swanky, and then the chorus comes and it's just Tina going, oh, there's nothing to it. And I feel that same way about this one, because I love this song. I think it's so cool, and it's such a great title because it's a twist on The Lion Sleeps Tonight, right?
Yeah. And they tease that at the beginning too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of influence to that, but they had nowhere near the hook that song has. And this one's a disappointment because it's got so much potential, but it just fails. Like on Film Strip, we would say this is medium popcorn. It's that medium popcorn that frustrates.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I was really digging it, and then that happened in the chorus, and I was just kind of like, that just ruined it for me, right? I really wanted to like this going forward, and then why? Why did you have to do that? Just maybe don't even say anything. Just do a instrumental breakdown and then go back into the next verse. I don't know, but I was bummed about that. Not my favorite track because of that, which is a bummer because I think it has a good groove going in.
Mm-hmm.
Track number 4 is a song everybody knows. It's called Everybody Hurts. This was probably the big single off this one, even though it didn't chart as high as Drive did. It was the one everybody remembers. This one, and we'll get to the next one down the line, but this was the song I knew very well from them. And you can't help, I don't think, but like this song. It's just so slow and just... It's right there. It's in your ears. It's pleasing. It's fun to listen to. Can't help but sing to it. It's just a great song. I don't know what else to say about it.
This song to me, and I got to tell you, like I've heard this song so much that I'm literally sick of it. Like I don't ever need to hear it again, But the thing that I've always loved about this song is that it never gives into the temptation to let's get complicated and speed up, or let's add in a bunch more stuff at some point. It's just dun 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 dun, dun and it just goes and it goes. I mean, I wrote down like the ultimate funeral dirge because it just slowly kind of grinds, and it's a great. I mean, lyrically, it's an amazing reflection on just being in a place where everything sucks and there's nothing anybody can do about it except just let it pass, and it takes 5.5 minutes, which is like sometimes it takes months, it takes years. And I've always appreciated that they capture that, and I think Stipe's vocals on this, I don't think he gets any better on the record. Honestly, I think he sings his ass off in this song, and he sounds great, and everything about this totally works. And I was always surprised too that this had chart higher, but this is the one that's had staying power.
Definitely.
When you hear the song today, now the song's kind of a meme, right? It's sort of a joke when somebody spills their ice cream. It's like everybody hurts. You get that going, but it has a life. But the neat thing about this song is that again, it never gives into the temptation to get more bombastic than it needs to, and I think that's what makes it neat.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those songs you can just kind of just roll back and forth to and just enjoy. And so that's why I really like this song. Is one of the few R.E.M. songs I would allow myself to listen to throughout these years. So there you go.
Yeah.
Track 5 on side A is an instrumental. Okay. I don't know why we needed it.
Keyboard. Yeah. This is one of those, like, we really like this stuff, and Stipe was really into the fact that, like, hey, you guys created something cool, there's no words for that, let's just put an instrumental in there. And they were like, okay, and so they just went with it. And all I can say is that at least it's short. I mean, it's not bad, it just doesn't really... What would have made this work for me, Brian, is if that led into the next song in some way.
Right.
Like, that'd be cool, but it just is a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree, and I have no problems with instrumentals. Hell, I've written songs where it had an instrumental intro to it, and it works, right? I mean, if you can get it to go into it just right, it works. But this is just there, and it's just kind of like, I don't really need
And
that.
I don't know why. Like it's that thing that's there, and it is the piece of the record where I'm like, that should have been cut. Should have gone with. Should have gone. Actually, I'm going to argue at the end. This should have been 10 songs anyway. But this is the first one that like this one should have been cut.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the final song on side A. This is Sweetness Follows. This is a slow jam.
Yeah.
I didn't mind this. Lyrics are quite depressing, but I don't mind that. I mean, I've been known to write depressing songs myself, so I can totally relate to that. But I thought it was a decent song.
It's like depression in the afterglow, is sort of what this is. I mean, it kind of is. There's like a lot of regret in this song. What did you think of the reverb on Stipe's vocals here? Because they hadn't really broke that out heavy at this point up until here, and he definitely sounds like he's down a hallway talking to you like this. So.
I didn't mind it actually. There's songs sometimes where the reverb is way overpowering. I think you can look at some of Mazzy Star's work where it's kind of her style, but in some cases it's kind of like dial it back. But I thought this worked. I don't think it was too intense to kind of distract from the song, but I think it kind of goes with where the lyrics are, right?
It does. I think the song is cool, and I think it's neat. I wonder what it would sound like straight without the over effects on it, and I didn't bother to look up a live version of it or anything, but I think it's a neat tune. It's an interesting way to end if you're flipping the record over, or flipping the tape over, like I would have been back in the day. It's a neat way to kind of, end the first half of the play or whatever, if you want to call it act one. I think it's a really well written song. I think lyrically it's really strong, and it's a much better come up than, I mean, there's nothing disappointing in it like Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight is. Like this song is a complete capsule in itself, so it works.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, so we're flipping the record, folks. Flip it over. We're on side B, or in Jay's case, the cassette tape. Why not? I still have cassette tapes. There's nothing wrong with that. We start off with a song called Monty Got a Raw Deal. I listened to this one a few times. The first time I heard it, I thought, okay, this is all right. Then I listened to it a second time, and I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really like this song.
This is a folk song, though, Brian. That's the thing. It's about Montgomery Clift and kind of his tragic life and stuff like that. So Stipe's drawing from, stuff he likes to read about. And I like folk songs. I grew up on, folk music and things like that, and, John Baez and Kingston Trio and all that. And I like how this song picks up a beat at some point, but it never loses its folky feel. You get a little bit of Buck playing mandolin again in there. It's a good interlude. Like I always thought like this song could have gone on Out of Time and it would have fit with that record really well. I don't think it's like the greatest, strongest like lyrical song. These next two are really kind of in the same thing. It's about, opinions about life and how, some people go left or right and things like that. But I mean, I kind of like it. I don't think it's great, but it's not bad. It's definitely not the worst song in the album.
No, but I think that there could have been a little bit more done with the song to make it a little better. I don't know, the kind of You Don't Owe Me Anything I could have been played on a little better, but it is what it is. It's not terrible, but not my favorite. Track 2 on side B is called Ignore Land. I dig that title. I think that's a cool title. Not sure really what to think about this one, but as I listened to it a second time, I actually found myself kind of digging it.
I'll say if you listen to Neil Young at all,
I do not.
If you do, you will get this song because that's where the guys wrote it. They wrote it in a Neil Young kind of style, like Cinnamon Girl, something like that. And then Stipe decided I need to really talk about how much I hate Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush or George Bush Sr.
Well, and he even goes back to Nixon and Ford.
He throws them in for, he throws them in for good measure, but he's really talking about Reagan and Bush here, and that's fine. That's his opinion. I like the jangly organ and the slide work. I think the music in this is fantastic. Again, it's that Neil Young kind of feel, and I like that Stipe is doing his vocals in this kind of cold, decisive thing. And I read a thing where Peter Buck talked about he sang those vocals through a guitar amp, so that it had that real solid state kind of flat, tone to it. And I think that's a cool idea. I'm like, you know what? I like this song because, again, musically, it's very interesting. And even if I don't agree with the message or anything, it's his right to say it, and I think he pours it out. I mean, he talks. I think there's some line in there that's like it's just my spleen exploding at this point. I'm just spitting it out because if I get it out of my head and yell a little bit, I feel better about it. So it's sort of cathartic. and I'm like, well, I guess at that time that's what you could do, and I dig it. I think this song's really strong, and it's a good one. And I mean, even with the curse words in it, which they could have muted and stuff, I was surprised this wasn't a single. I mean, this is exactly what these kind of guys would like to sing about and write about, and this one makes their live rounds, or it did when they played this stuff a lot. So this is one that I always knew, and that's why I thought it was a single, because I remember listening to it and hearing people talk about it. So yeah. I think it's a strong song.
Yeah, I think the only reason it probably wasn't a single is because where the country was at the time. You're talking 90. This was 90 or 92. When was this one put out? 92. So you're talking about the height of the Gulf War just finishing. People are pretty strong. Bush is still semi-popular. He's going to lose an election coming up. But the country, I don't think, wanted to hear people bash Reagan and Bush and all that at the point. Now, a year later, it would have probably worked.
Yeah. But they'd release this in 94. This would be huge.
Exactly. But the time, I think that's probably why they didn't put it out as a single. Just a guess, but
probably so. You know what? Probably somebody at the record company probably got a hold of that. But yeah,
could be.
Yeah.
Up next, an interesting title here. Track 3 on side B, "Star Me Kitten." What the hell?
Do you know who you can thank for that title?
I don't.
A famous actress named Meg Ryan.
Oh, there you go.
So the original title of this is "F Me Kitten," and I'm self-censoring here a little bit. It's supposed to be a sexy song. It's not sexy in the least bit. But if you're a nerd and an alternative band from Athens, Georgia, this is what you think is sexy. So whatever. Oof. So they're doing this, and she gets to, I don't know, she somehow or another came to the studio, heard a demo, and then they told her what it was called, and she said, "That's cool." She said, "But growing up where I grew up, that would have meant I wasn't able to buy the record. Like my parents wouldn't have allowed me to have it." And the guys, like Peter Buck said, we kind of sat around and had a conversation about, like, we're trying to say something, y'all, but there's also something about, like, we want people to actually buy this and own it and be into it. So she's, somewhere along the way, they're like, well, she was a movie star. We'll call it "Star Me Kitten." And that's just where this came from. Now,
strange title.
That story is way infinitely more interesting than this lousy song. This is a bad tune. All right. I don't like the song. I don't like anything about it. I don't think it necessarily should have been a cut from the record, because I'm saving my cut for something else. But I have never liked this song, and listening to it again this time was a real chore to get through. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of this tune. I just think the story behind it is fascinating. But if you didn't know any of that, man, this is a total, like, fast forward, skip, next drop over on the beat.
Agreed. I do not like Michael Stipe's voice in this, where he's trying to sing in a lower register, and I just don't think it works for him. His signature is that really high-pitched, weird voice, right? To try and lower it down and sing like Barry Manilow or something doesn't work for me.
Barry White, Barry Manilow, whatever.
It's just not good. So to me, I didn't like this one. I agree with you. This is a skipping track for sure. But number 4 on side B is not. This is their second, probably most popular song off this album. "Man on the Moon," of course, revived for all of us from the Andy Kaufman film of the same title. This one, I really enjoy the song overall. I like the references to Andy Kaufman in here. I like the little Elvis voice he does in the middle of the song there. And, I dig this. I think it's a great song. This is the second single off the album. And again, didn't chart higher than Drive. Drive was the highest charting at 28. This one got to 30. But I think I don't know how it would have done after "Man on the Moon," the movie came out. Maybe it got a little more play, but obviously 30 was its highest mark.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely got a resurgence there in 99 and 2000 with the Jim Carrey movie. That's a fantastic film, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But I love the story of this one, because they had the music of this laying around the whole time. And Stipe kept telling them, "Guys, I got nothing. Just throw it out there as an instrumental. It sounds amazing." Because it has this great ebb and flow, like it's a real kind of da 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 in the verse, and then it kicks into this just rock and roll chorus, which you can thank the drummer who had the chord progression for. And so they came up with this, and they kept pushing him. And as Mike Mills says, we begged Michael to please write something for this. So he walked around Seattle with a pair of headphones on, listening to it one day. And he got to thinking about Andy Kaufman and kind of everything else. And really, if you read the lyrics and kind of get into it, it's all about all the people that believe. It's sort of the anti-conspiracy theory song. It's like if if you don't believe Andy Kaufman's dead, what do you think? We faked the moon landing too. Elvis isn't really dead. Like all these little references in it. It's kind of a poke at it instead of being affirmation, because a lot of people for years thought like, oh, they're saying Andy's still alive, and I'm like, no, not really at all. Nope. They're saying nope, he's definitely dead, and so are all these other people and all this other crap that you believe. And I liked it though, because again, as alternative music owes its roots in folk music, and I will never not say that. Okay, and being a big folk guy, I can say that and believe it. And those are songs about things and about telling subversive stories. And sometimes the way to get that across is through a real jangly hook. And this song has got all of that. And this is just it is the best of R.E.M. doing what they are really great at. And it's molding great and intricate music around Michael Stipe's vocals and his sort of weird personality through his lyrics and stuff like that, or his weird perception, I should say. And I love this song, dude. I've always liked this song. I liked it, and I'm not even like Andy Kaufman. I'll tell you, Man on the Moon's a great film, but it won't make you like Andy Kaufman anymore. And it makes you like Jim Carrey even less, if that's possible. This song is awesome, and I love this song.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This was a great song. Moving on to track number 5 on side B. This one's called Night Swimming. This was the 5th single off the album. Nothing memorable for me on this song, but I thought it was pretty good.
Surprised me, man. The vocal melody countering that piano hook, dude, that is straight Pink Floyd. Like this is R.E.M. trying to do what they love about Pink Floyd. With Rick Wright's piano work and the way that would work against Roger or David's vocals through the years. I love this song.
Okay.
I think the lyrics are fascinating. I think it is a great ending, and I'll tell you now, it should have been the end of the record, because if you bookend this with Drive, go listen to Drive and then go listen to this song, and you'll feel like you watched the beginning and the end of a movie. Right. Night Swimming is a beautiful song, and again, that the way Stipe's vocal melody counters the piano hook is so different, because if you give that piano hook to a different singer, they're going to go right along with it, and make it more poppy. And when you put him on top of it, it makes it R.E.M. and it makes it special. I love this song, man.
All right. Well, I'll definitely give it another listen. I am admitting here that I wanted to be as fresh as I could, so I only listened to each track twice on this album before recording this episode, because I didn't want to I wanted to give my utmost opinion right off the cuff, since I've been such a avid R.E.M. disliker for so long. So I'll definitely go back and give this another listen too. Like I said, I like it, but I didn't think there was anything memorable about it. So maybe I'm missing something there.
Well, and I'll say again, what I'm telling you is my impressions of it, and I'm giving you what I think is an avenue for how you might appreciate it. But if you don't, you don't. That's cool. I'm just telling you, as someone who liked Drive as much as I did, and then if this had been the ending song, and to me it is the ending song because I never listened to the next one, spoiler alert, this is a great tune.
All right, and I think we're going to disagree on this final song. It sounds like you do not like this one at all. I love the sound of the acoustic guitar on this song. From a production standpoint, I think it sounds absolutely beautiful on this song. I thought this was a great way to end the record because it was depressing. It had a good vibe to it, and I thought it just went well for me. I liked it. And I'm guessing you hated it.
I didn't hate it so much. It's them still trying to do the Pink Floyd thing, but not doing it as well. Like I listen to this and I'm like, it's just not what I wanted. It's not a bad tune. It just doesn't feel like it fits. And I'm real big on like flow and fit. So like New Orleans Instrumental should like be gone. And if you took this song and moved it off the record, I think you got 10 like killer songs, because I don't think this one really matches what everything else is on this album. It seems a little off, and I've never been a fan of it. Now, granted, I like Night Swimming so much that coming into it, like there's no bar to clear it anymore for me. Mm-hmm. So I'll admit I'm probably a little biased against it, but for this one, I just didn't dig it. It didn't land well for me. It's not awful, but it's still just not great.
Yeah, and I think I just got caught up in how pretty that guitar sounded on this song. Yeah. And I felt it had a really good beat for the song, as depressing as the lyrics are, I thought it moved pretty well. So I don't know, I just kind of dug it. It's under 4 minutes, so it's not too long to listen through. But I think the production on this one's probably one of my favorites of the album, actually. Song wise, not my favorite, but definitely production wise, I thought they did a good job with the instruments on this. All right. So there you go. Surprise, surprise. I think I liked a lot of this album, and maybe that means I need to give this another chance. Tell me your favorite tracks off this, and I'll tell you mine afterwards.
If I had to put them in order, it'd be Drive, Night Swimming, Man on the Moon, Everybody Hurts, and then I'd probably put Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight still in there, along with Try to Breathe. Even though Sidewinder doesn't work in the chorus, I think it's got enough going on otherwise. And then I do like Ignore Land, even though it's meant to offend, and it does. But I do think that's good musically. So let me reorder for you. So it'd be Drive, Night Swimming, Man on the Moon, and then I probably would put Everybody Hurts next, and then from there it would be a mash of Ignore Land and Try to Breathe and Sidewinder Sleeps. Those are my favorites.
All right. Well, I don't have mine in order, but my favorite tracks on this album are Everybody Hurts, Man on the Moon, Drive, Sweetness Follows, and Find the River, of all things. But again, like I said, I've only listened to this twice through. But I liked it enough, Jay. I liked it enough that I bought the record.
Nice! Nice!
So I now own a R.E.M. record in my collection.
Very
so there
good.
we go.
Then my work is complete.
There you go. So I will admit that I will be checking out some more R.E.M. music from now on, not ignoring them. I guarantee you what I will not do is the other band that I do not like, and you know who that is. I won't mention on here because I don't want to piss people off. That's a lot of people's favorite band, but that's a different reason. That's more to do with I don't like the guitar playing, and I do not like the vocalist. So
we'll skip them.
We'll skip them. But I'm surprised. I was out and about. I listened to this on my Amazon Music account the first time, and I found myself really grooving to it. And so I was out the other day at Barnes & Noble, and I had a coupon for, I think it was 25% off plus a 10% off membership. And I was looking at what they had in stock, and it was between this album and it was another album that was like $35, and I'm like, I don't want to spend even the $20 some it's going to cost. And I thought I might as well get this one because I've enjoyed what I've heard so far. So I ended up picking it up, and I like listening to my music on vinyl anyway, so I got to listen to it a couple times today on the vinyl, and it sounded great.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you got to enjoy it, man. I do think they are worth revisiting. I would not sit here and tell you that everything they've done is, gloriously magnificent, because I do think they've had a lot of misses, but they've also had a lot of hits, and they've had staying power for a reason. Yeah. And so I'm a big fan of go back and try to rediscover music that maybe didn't land the first time. I kind of think of it like maybe you didn't like that vegetable when you were a kid, but now you pair it with the right thing and it might work for you a little bit better. So R.E.M. can kind of come off that way. So I'm glad you dug this one though, because I thought this would be a good entry point for you if you're gonna introduce somebody to R.E.M. Honestly, like you got 7 other records to go for, but this is a good entry point, and then you can sort of work your way backward, I think.
Yeah, and I probably will. I think I'm going to go with the Out of Time record next because I do recognize a lot of the songs on that one. Losing My Religion was a huge song that came out, so I know that one. And I'll probably dig into that one next. I've heard a lot of good things about Monster. I don't know the tracks on half of these. And then a lot of people like, what is the album? It is... probably Murmur and Document are the other ones.
Document. I would,
and then Green I see a lot too.
I would definitely recommend Document and Green as kind of a good twofer. They really match each other.
All right, so I'll probably delve into those. We'll see. I'll if there's a deal coming on, I'll probably pick up some more R.E.M. in the future. So hey, good job, Jay. You got me to be kind of a fan here. So you did what you wanted to do, I think.
Yes, yes. So, I got you to listen to at least some R.E.M. So
that's great. Now, if I can only get you to watch,
We should tell everybody that when you listen to these today, you started the day by listening to Dio and then went to R.E.M. And I'm like, your ears are going to be in whiplash, dude.
I started the day with Dio, and then I listened to R.E.M. I did not post that because I didn't want to spoil this episode. And then I went to Leanne Womack, of all things. So I mean, it's just my nature. I'm all over the place music wise. It doesn't follow any kind of a sane thing. It's just whatever I find and want to hear. But that's how my life is. So yes, I did listen to this a couple times today before the show to make sure I knew what I was going to talk about. I wrote notes as I listened, and all that stuff. I changed some notes as I listened a second time. But it was a good experience, so I'm happy we did this. Now, if I can get you to just watch The Big Lebowski for our other podcast, my life will be complete.
I owe you that one now, and we will do that. I promise. We've got to get that one down. So.
All right. So that's going to do it for this episode of Tracks. Jay, I hope this turned out great on the video. I think it's going to be quite a fun watch for people. And I thank you, as always, for joining me. Tell people about how we can follow you on your different things that you do.
Oh, absolutely. So if you're into football at all and sports, you can listen to a show I do with my buddy Alan. Brian, you come on and talk a little bit of NFL with us. It's called the Gridiron Breakdown Show. If you search for that in all your podcatchers, you'll find it. Or if you go to anchor.fm/gridiron breakdown, you'll find feeds where you can find it on Apple, Google, Spotify. Then you and I have been longtime co-producers and co-hosts of the Film Strip podcast, where us and 6 of our other friends now do movie reviews. And we've got a little bit of everything. And so if you go to filmstrippodcast.com, you'll see our archive section where, almost 200 episodes in now at this point. And I mean, we've done everything. We've done, cheesy horror movies. We've done romance movies. We've done action movies. We've done really bad, cheesy horror movies, as I've said. We've done big franchises like Star Wars and and a lot of Stanley Kubrick films. So we really do a lot of cool stuff, and we have a lot of fun with that. So that's called Film Strip Podcast again, and you and I have been involved with that for a long time. And hey, we might as well plug the big one, man, while we're here. If any Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans are still out there, and all of Buffy's shows just went on Facebook Watch, so that's been advertised a lot. Brian and I reviewed every episode of Buffy back in the day for a show called The Art of Slaying. And if you search for that, you can find all of our shows. And people still find that show today. So we're one of the few Buffy podcasts that actually finished the whole thing. So at the time.
Well, that's the thing, too. There's 152 or so episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 7 seasons worth. And, we got into that because we were trying to find a podcast that dealt with it, and no one could finish the dang thing. They would start, probably get 30, 40 episodes in, and then just quit. And so we were determined to make it all the way through, and it took 4 years. But we did it. We went through every episode, broke it down, talked about it. It was a blast. And we had a lot of fun doing that. When did we end that? That was 2014, 2015?
Yeah, it's been a few years now since that was finished. But like I say, people still find the show today. So it's worth plugging because Film Strip was started like right after that and it's just sort of kept on since.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Film Strip is a great time. If you love movies, there's everything out there. I mean, I can't recommend more. If you're a Hulk Hogan fan, listen to the No Holds Barred podcast. We've got, Halloween. We've got Nightmare on Elm Street. We've got Friday the 13th series. We've got, some great Christmas horror movies out there.
We've done some of those as you get your Christmas lights in the background. We've done action movies, like I say, all kinds of stuff out there. And the cool thing is it's not just me and you. We've got 5 other people that rotate in and out and do these shows with us, and each of them have a different perspective. And everybody's really naturally funny. So you and I just get to kind of set the softballs up and let them run with it, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a blast. So you can find all that stuff. Film Strip Podcast for that. The Art of Slaying. Just do a search for that. You can find that. That's still out there on iTunes. We have a website that's still up and running, believe it or not, with all the episodes out there. We've got the Gridiron Breakdown. You've been doing that show for years. It's still up and running, so check that out if you're into college football especially. You're going to do that year-round now, correct?
Yeah, we're going to keep it going throughout the year. When college football season ends, we'll do specials on the NFL, and
The
then
XFL's coming up, right?
yeah, we'll probably talk a little XFL, but we'll do there's college football season never really ends until it's like the heat of baseball season, and so there's recruiting to talk about, there's coaching changes, there's all kinds of stuff to keep it with, and then there's of course the NFL off season. So we'll talk about all that through the off season, and then get right back into college football season next fall.
All right, sounds good. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode. This is Tracks from Brian's Vinyl Records. It's something we do every once in a blue moon. We're giving this video a shot, see how that works out, see if people like it and dig it. It's always available, of course, on all your podcast networks. We are on iTunes, Spotify, and pretty much every podcast, Overcast, anything you could think of, you can find the show there as well. But now we're going to put it up on YouTube, and hopefully this works out because we'll be planning a bunch of stuff. I know we're going to tackle some Pink Floyd somewhere down the road.
Yeah.
Probably bust out some other stuff that's fun, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you for listening, though. Appreciate that. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I believe everything is Brian's Vinyl Records except for Twitter, which is Brian's Vinyl Rec. But otherwise, just search Brian's Vinyl Records. You find everything else there. And thanks for listening, Jay. Thanks for joining me.
Absolutely.
And until next time, guys, keep spinning.